She only wanted 2 loaves of bread, just enough to feed her daughters for the night. But instead of kindness, she was met with laughter, humiliation, and words so cruel they echoed through the entire bakery. A proud mother, reduced to whispers and stares, while strangers watched like it was a show. Yet, what no one knew that day was that someone else was watching too. Someone powerful, someone ready to change everything. How does a simple request for bread turn into a fight for dignity, justice, and a reckoning no one saw coming? Alicia Brown was a 33-year-old mother doing her best to hold life together. To her 2 little girls, Amara, just 7, and Zoe, only 5, she was their hero. They didn't see the bills piling up or the quiet sacrifices she made. They only knew the warmth of her hugs and the way she turned even the smallest meal into a moment of love. On that Saturday morning, Alicia walked into Harvest Lane Bakery, a place she'd visited many times before. The shelves smelled of fresh bread, and her daughters tugged gently at her hands, their eyes bright with hope for something simple and comforting to eat. To them, this was just another stop in their day. But for Alicia, it carried the weight of quiet anxiety. Her bank card had been unexpectedly blocked, a temporary glitch, but enough to make even the smallest purchase difficult. Still, she believed kindness could carry her through. All she needed was 2 loaves of bread and the promise that she would return tomorrow to pay in full. A small request, she thought. Harmless. Reasonable. What Alicia didn't know as she stood there, holding her daughters close, was that the man behind the counter wasn't just about to deny her. He was about to strip away her dignity in front of everyone watching. And that single moment would set in motion a chain of events that neither Alicia nor the man who mocked her could ever escape. The smell of fresh bread filled the air as Alicia approached the counter, her daughters clinging to her hands. With calm dignity, she explained her situation to the bakery manager. Her card had been temporarily blocked, but if she could take 2 loaves today, she would return tomorrow to pay. It wasn't a plea for charity. It was a mother's simple request for grace. But instead of understanding, Gregory Barnes leaned back, his voice sharp and cutting. "This place isn't for people like you," he sneered, loud enough for the entire bakery to hear. The words struck like a whip. Heads turned. Customers chuckled. The warmth of the room shifted into something cold and cruel. Alicia felt her daughter's grip tighten. Their small faces searched hers for reassurance, but she stood still, her spine straight, refusing to crumble. She quietly slipped her phone from her purse, recording every moment, even as her cheeks burned. Gregory puffed his chest as if he were proud of the spectacle he was creating. "If you want free food," he added mockingly, "go to the shelter." The laughter that followed cut deeper than the insult itself. Alicia's dignity was being stripped away, piece by piece, in front of strangers who chose silence or, worse, amusement. But somewhere in the corner, a man sat watching. Tall, well-dressed, his fists clenched beneath the table. He didn't move, not yet, but his eyes never left Alicia. There was something about her grace under fire that stirred a memory he couldn't shake. Alicia didn't lash out. Instead, she turned to her daughters and whispered, "Let's go, girls. We'll find a place where good people work." Her voice trembled but carried a strength that silenced Gregory more than any shouting ever could. She walked out not defeated, but determined. What she didn't know was that Gregory wasn't finished. Later that day, he uploaded the bakery's surveillance clip to Instagram. The caption read, "Protecting my business from freeloaders. #no handouts." The post spread quickly. Some praised him, others laughed. But Alicia watched it all unfold with a quiet fire building inside her. She took screenshots, saving every comment, every insult, every digital trace. Years of nursing had taught her the power of documentation. This time, she would use that skill for justice. Then came the unexpected call. A voice on the other end introduced himself, Daniel Lee, a civil rights attorney known for fighting discrimination. He had seen the video. He wanted to represent her, free of charge. And he wasn't alone. A friend of his, someone powerful, was waiting to meet her. The next morning, Alicia shook hands with Malcolm Davis, a black entrepreneur who had risen from poverty to power. "When Gregory humiliated you, he said. "I saw my mother in you." His voice carried the weight of memory, of scars left long ago. And now he was ready to fight back. Together they began digging. Alicia organized complaints into neat files, building a case that showed Gregory's behavior wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. Latino women, black families, customers denied, mocked, and followed. Story after story painted a damning picture. And then came the breakthrough. A young employee named Rachel, nervous but determined, stepped forward with something that would change everything. She had proof. But how much damage could one piece of evidence really do? The answer would shake the entire bakery, and everyone connected to it. The bakery that once smelled of warm bread now reeked of scandal. Rachel's recording hit the internet like wildfire. Gregory's mocking tone, his cruel laughter, Alicia's quiet dignity. Millions watched, thousands shared, and within hours, protesters were gathering outside Harvest Lane Bakery with signs that read, "Justice for Alicia." But the true reckoning came on Monday morning. Inside the office of the bakery, Gregory sat stiff in his chair, sweat beading across his forehead. Across from him stood Richard Morgan, the majority owner of the chain, a man whose reputation was built on philanthropy and social responsibility. Next to him is Daniel Lee, the civil rights attorney. And beside Daniel, Malcolm Davis, the entrepreneur whose gaze could cut through stone. The recording played one more time. Every sneer, every cruel word, echoed through the small office. Gregory's excuses stumbled out, claims of protecting the business, of misunderstanding the situation. But Richard slammed his hand on the desk. His voice shook with fury. "You've destroyed everything I've built. You've humiliated a customer, a mother, in front of her children. You've broken the law, and you've broken my trust." The decision was swift and final. Gregory was fired on the spot. No second chances. No sympathy. He packed his belongings into a small cardboard box as the sounds of chanting protesters seeped through the walls. Phones were waiting outside, cameras eager to capture his walk of shame. When Gregory stepped out into the crowd, the roles had reversed. No longer the man sneering behind a counter. He was now the one shrinking under stares, mocked by voices calling him what he had shown himself to be: racist. Dozens of phones recorded every second as he stumbled to his car, the weight of his downfall captured forever. In that moment, Alicia's quiet strength had turned the tables. But the story wasn't over yet. Because what happened after Gregory's fall would not only change Alicia's life, it would inspire a movement far bigger than a single bakery. For Gregory, the fall was swift and merciless. Stripped of his position, blacklisted from customer-facing jobs, and abandoned by those who once stood by him, he faded into the background of the very world he thought he controlled. The laughter he once enjoyed at Alicia's expense was now replaced by jeers aimed at him, his name forever tied to cruelty and prejudice. But for Alicia, the ending was very different. Malcolm Davis offered her a leadership role in his company, with pay that meant no more choosing between bills and food. Richard Morgan created scholarships for her daughters, ensuring that Amara and Zoe would have opportunities their mother once only dreamed of. And Daniel Lee, the attorney who first reached out, made her case a cornerstone in his fight against discrimination, citing it as proof that dignity and justice could prevail when people spoke up. Soon, Alicia's story was shared across the country, not as a tale of victimhood but as one of strength. She became a voice in the fight against racial injustice, standing on stages, speaking into cameras, reminding the world that silence only feeds cruelty. Every letter she received, every message from strangers who found courage because of her, was proof that even in the face of humiliation, resilience can spark change. Her daughters no longer remembered the sting of that day in the bakery. They remembered the victory that followed. And that's the power of this story. One act of cruelty tried to reduce a mother to nothing. Instead, it elevated her into a symbol of dignity and justice. But the question remains: how many Alicias must endure humiliation before society finally changes? And when the next injustice happens, will we be silent bystanders, or will we stand with them? What do you think about Alicia's story? Was justice truly served? Or does it reveal how much further we still have to go? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation alive. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories that shine a light on injustice.